Tell me if this sounds familiar. I need it. I can't live without it, but I don't know why I keep pushing for it. It just ends up in rejection and frustration. I haven't had real intimacy in months, maybe close to a year, but I'm still chasing it, and I'm still pissed off when it doesn't happen. And I keep measuring our relationship by how often she says yes. Ask yourself this question. Is sex for you about control and not connection? Welcome to the Secure Husband Podcast. Bruce Abbott, certified professional coach and founder of SecureHusband.com. Let's talk about control. What I'm describing right there is so common with a lot of guys that I meet with. He thinks this is about sex. And biologically, yes, we feel the need for sex. We feel that drive. That's that inner biological mechanisms that we have. But this is really about control. Control's sneaky because it doesn't look like control when it's coming from fear. It looks like effort. It feels like you're working hard towards it. It looks like desire. It looks like pursuit. But underneath it, there's a voice saying, if I could just get her to want me, then I'll feel okay. Then I'll know I'm enough. We talk about that with their inner child often in this podcast. And when sex becomes tied to that feeling, it stops being about love or connection, and it starts becoming a transaction, a scoreboard, a way to soothe something inside of us that feels empty or unworthy. And I tell you this not out of blame or shame or judgment, because I've been there too. There was a time in my marriage where I didn't realize how much my need for sex was actually a need for validation. I wasn't trying to control my wife consciously, but what I was trying to do was control how I felt by using her reaction as proof that I was desirable, that I was enough, I wasn't being rejected. That's the hidden addiction that a lot of men don't realize. They don't recognize that it's not about sex itself, it's what sex represents. Sex is a mirror of the relationship. Something that we don't often look at is that sex represents the emotional space between the two people. When there's distance, or there's resentment, or fear, or emotional shutdown, it shows up first in the bedroom. Because you can't fake connection. You can fake performance, yeah, but you can't fake emotional safety, or trust, or love. If you find yourself saying she never wants it anymore, she's just distant, she's cold, she's withdrawn, you ask yourself, when was the last time she felt emotionally safe around you? Now, that's a tough question to ask. But when you do that and you ask yourself, when was the last time she felt like she could tell you something vulnerable and you didn't get defensive? If it's been a while, then right there, that tells you something. Because remember, for most women, sex is an extension of connection. It's how they express closeness, not how they create closeness. But for a lot of men, sex is how we connect. It's how we feel wanted. It's how we feel alive. It's how we believe that we matter. When one person is craving emotional safety and the other is craving physical reassurance, it creates a feedback loop of frustration. And it's a chase for validation. Sometimes it's based on sex addiction. And we're going to talk about that over some of the next few podcasts because a lot of men that I'm working with are really borderline sex addicts. Now, that may be a tough pill to swallow, and we'll talk about that more in future podcasts. But this is just about the chase for validation. We're not going to talk about addiction itself. You're chasing the feeling of being wanted because underneath it, remember, you didn't feel wanted by yourself. That inner boy inside that always felt like they had to earn love. But you never really noticed that. You never noticed when she says no, that it's not just disappointing, it hurts. It's rejection. It triggers something older, something buried deeper than that present moment. And I've talked about that in every podcast. It's not just about your wife saying no tonight. It's about every time in your life you felt invisible or unwanted or not enough. Every time you reached for connection and didn't get it back. Often that started as a small child. That's what's getting activated. When we don't know how to sit with that pain or nurture ourselves through it, we try to fix it externally. And we pursue, and we push, and we pressure, and we withdraw, we sulk, we look at porn, we get angry, we detach, we do all of these coping mechanisms. All of these are different ways of saying the same thing. I don't know how to soothe myself, so I need you, wife, to give me what I can't give myself. And as I've said before, that's not love, that's codependence. But it's disguised as desire. So intimacy becomes a battle. I just had a coaching session this morning with one of my guys. He was talking about a massive argument that he had with his wife. It just blew up so big. And he was telling me, I just don't get it. I do everything for her. I provide. I help with the kids. I plan date nights and still nothing. I'm trying to make her happy, but she acts like she's doing me a favor if we're intimate. And I had to ask him, when you plan those date nights, what's your goal? And he started laughing. He's like, sex. There you go. Right there. That's the trap, right? Doing all the right things, helping, giving, showing up, but with an outcome in mind. We call it love, but it's a hidden contract. If I do this, then you'll give me that. That's not connection. That's manipulation. That's trying to control how the other person responds to us instead of learning how to stay connected no matter how they respond. And I always get reactions when I say that comment because men are like, well, you might be able to be okay without sex. This isn't about sex. It's about trying to manipulate for sex. It's about what you're trying to do to feel wanted. It's what you're trying to do to earn love. But when love has to be earned, it stops being love. It becomes a performance. And it's all from that wound. It's all that wound underneath. That's what's going on underneath that's driving that constant craving for sex or affection or validation. It's usually one of two things. It's either shame or fear of rejection. But for men who struggle with sexual frustration, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not a pervert. You're lonely. You're starving for intimacy. But instead of vulnerability, you've been taught to pursue control. We don't know how to say, babe, I feel unwanted. We don't know how to just be authentic and say, babe, I miss you. I miss that connection. Instead, we say things like, why don't you ever want sex anymore? Because anger feels safer than sadness. It feels like you can control somehow through anger. And control feels safer than vulnerability. But deep down, the wound is the same. It's the ache of disconnection. When I started doing my own work years ago, I realized that I spent decades thinking that sex was proof of love. If my wife wanted me, it meant we were okay. If she didn't, it meant we weren't. And that's a lot of pressure to put on one thing. And it's also completely backwards because desire dies when safety dies. That's what I wish I could get every man to understand. If your partner doesn't feel emotionally safe, she's not going to open up physically. It's not because she's broken. It's not because she's trying to punish you. It's because her body knows something that she may not be able to articulate, but what it tells her is, I don't feel safe emotionally. Emotional safety is that ignition switch. Without it, there's no spark. The engine doesn't start. Emotional safety doesn't mean perfection. It means presence. It means she can bring her full self into the space without worrying that she's going to be judged or pressured or disrespected. And I want you to realize that your wife has probably been living in self-protection for years. Every time you react with frustration or withdrawal, she pulls back further. And the more she pulls back, the more you chase. And it's a loop that only breaks when one of you stops trying to control the other and starts taking ownership of your own inner world. Now, in my coaching session this morning, my guy said, what's crazy about the whole thing is when we do have sex, I still feel empty. And that's where it starts to click, because that's the moment you realize that what you've been chasing isn't giving you what you thought it would. That emptiness, it's not failure as a husband, it's feedback. It's your inner self saying, this isn't the connection that I really want. When sex becomes about proving something, the heart's not engaged in it. It's performance. You could actually have a lot of sex with your wife and still feel empty. Performance always leaves you feeling empty because you're not actually being seen. You're being evaluated, and you're evaluating yourself. And if you listen to this podcast, you know it's from that wounded inner boy inside, the wounded self. It's the part of us that learns somewhere along the line that we're not enough. You've heard me say it might be from a distant parent. Your dad, maybe you weren't really close to him. Maybe your mom was really critical. You might have had a relationship where you gave everything, still got rejected. That wounded part of you doesn't want to feel pain ever again, so it tries to control. And what does it control? It tries to control everything. It tries to control how others see us, how our wives respond to us, how we're perceived at work, in our marriage, as a parent, wherever. But control is the opposite of love. Love requires freedom. Control requires compliance. When your sexuality becomes a tool for control, whether that's pressuring or withdrawing or sulking or performing, people-pleasing, you lose the connection it was meant to create. And it feeds codependence. I want you to get really honest with yourself. Walk through this with me, because this is a cycle I see over and over again. You feel disconnected. You feel unwanted. It triggers a deep insecurity. Maybe she doesn't desire me. Maybe I'm not enough. Then you pursue sexually to fix that feeling. Physical advances, maybe doing things that you think will earn affection. Then she feels pressured or unsafe, then withdraws emotionally or physically. Then you interpret that withdrawal as rejection. Then you double down with your frustration, your withdrawal, your sulking, your sarcasm, your silence, whatever is your coping mechanism. Then she feels even less safe, and she reinforces the cycle. The more you chase, the more she retreats. The more she retreats, the more you feel rejected. The relationship starts to revolve around tension and resentment and unmet needs instead of closeness and curiosity and compassion. Now, breaking that cycle isn't about changing her. If you've listened to this podcast you know this is not about fixing your wife. It's about recognizing the fear that's driving you, those wounds from inside. Fear and intimacy don't exist together. They cannot coexist. You can't be genuinely intimate when you're afraid of rejection, because that fear keeps you guarded, and it keeps her guarded. And you can't connect if you're both trying to control. I know in my situation, when I started letting go of control in my own marriage, when I stopped the scorekeeping, the mental spreadsheet in my head, the subtle passive-aggressive acts, the resentment, I started to notice something. My wife began to relax. When we did have sex, we actually felt connected. And this happened not because I was perfect or did the right things or became a sexual master in the bedroom. It was because she could feel that I wasn't coming to her from fear and neediness. I was coming to her from peace. And when you can bring that presence, that calm, grounded self, you invite closeness. Because when you bring tension, you push it away. I know at one point I was obsessed with the lack of sex in my marriage. I would say to myself, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I don't know how much longer I can be in this relationship. When I stopped making it about sex, then amazing things started to happen. Connection started to reappear. And as I started rebuilding connection, the sex followed. See, if you chase sex first, the connection dies. Chase connection first, and sex can flourish. I want you to try something. Now, whenever I mention this in my coaching sessions to guys, they look at me like I've got two heads. But I'm going to ask you, spend 2 weeks without initiating anything sexual, but just perform kindness, curiosity, laughter, compliments, without expectation. I know that this sounds like, oh, I'm putting her on a pedestal. I'm people-pleasing. I'm trying to be perfect. No, what you're doing is you're just trying something new. You're putting connection first. Just try this. It's actually something that I tried in my marriage. And what I found was after a few weeks of doing this, I started to notice something. I started to notice my wife would touch me again. Not anything sexual, but like a stroke on the back or like a holding onto an arm. These are signs of affection that hadn't been there in a long time. She even leaned in while we were watching TV. That shows the power of energy, because when your presence feels safe, her body responds naturally, not because you manipulated it, but because you stopped chasing and started connecting. It's about being vulnerable more than control. Control feels safer than vulnerability. For guys, let's face it, vulnerability is terrifying for most men. Saying I feel lonely or I feel disconnected feels weak. That's what society tells us. You don't say those things. But it goes against everything that we've been conditioned to believe about masculinity. Control feels powerful. It gives us the illusion that we can protect ourselves from rejection or abandonment. But it doesn't. It just isolates us. And when sex becomes about control, it's no longer about us. It's about what we can get what we can prove, what we can fix. That's why it stops feeling fulfilling, because it's not a shared experience anymore. It's an exchange of power. So you control, or you try to control. How do we move from control to connection? It starts with awareness, noticing. Starts with honesty, starts with humility. Just notice, am I seeking connection or validation? Am I pursuing sex because I want closeness or because I feel insecure and need that injection of sex? Do I shut down when I'm rejected, or can I stay open-hearted? Connection can't grow where fear runs the show. The next time you feel rejected, try something. Don't react. Just sit with the discomfort. Feel the sting of it. Let it be there without judgment. Then ask yourself, what am I really wanting right now? Usually the answer is connection. And here's the thing. You can create that without needing sex first. That's the power of emotional safety. Emotional safety doesn't mean walking on eggshells. It means being trustworthy. It means that your partner knows how to handle her emotions without turning them into your own rejection. If she's sad, if she's angry or distant, you don't punish her. You don't chase. You don't collapse. You just stay grounded, stay steady. That's the kind of strength that builds attraction over time. When she can trust your steadiness, she starts to relax. And when she relaxes, connection grows. And when connection grows, intimacy naturally follows. That's what it means when we talk about being a secure husband. It's not about dominance. It's about emotional leadership. It's about holding space, not control. It's about integrity. Integrity, sexual integrity, isn't about not cheating or betrayal or having an affair. It means your energy, your motives, your behaviors. It means you don't use sex to avoid emotion. You don't pursue intimacy to fix insecurity. You don't hide behind physical desire to escape emotional discomfort. When you move in integrity, your partner can feel it. She may not be consciously aware of it. Her body knows the difference between he wants to connect or he needs to prove something. And when you come from peace, your energy says, I'm already full. I just want to share it. We talk about having that love for yourself, so much love that you can overflow it. That's the energy of connection. And you move from control to freedom. It's making a choice. It's choosing to share yourself vulnerably with someone who feels safe sharing themselves with you. For men, that means learning to be okay with rejection, not as a measure of your worth, but as an opportunity for deeper self-understanding. And when you can say, okay, she's not rejecting me, she's protecting herself, that will change everything. It turns that moment from personal pain into empathy and compassion. And when you finally stop taking your wife's no as a personal insult, she will probably start opening up emotionally again because she can finally breathe around you because you broke the cycle. It's not about dominance. It's about emotional endurance. It's a different kind of strength. The ability to hold steady when your ego wants to spiral out of control. It's the ability to choose connection over control. It's patience over pressure. That's real masculinity. It's easy to be strong when things are going your way. It's harder to be strong when your needs aren't being met and you choose love anyway. That's where transformation happens. That's where you become the kind of man who creates safety instead of demanding compliance. Let go of the outcome. You can't make her desire you, but you can become a man who is desirable. Does that make sense? I don't mean this in a superficial way. I mean emotionally. A man who is at peace with himself, who isn't controlled by his urges or crushed by rejection, will bring warmth and compassion and love instead of pressure. And when you stop making sex as a scoreboard, you stop keeping track of these losses and start noticing connection in other forms. Laughter, conversation, touch, gratitude, those small little things are what rebuilds the spark. The misconception that women have is that men were just preoccupied with sex. But sex is one of the most beautiful forms of connection that we can experience, but only when it's built on emotional safety and freedom and respect, both ways. When it becomes about control, when it becomes about proving your worth, it loses its power. But when it becomes about sharing love and connection, that's where the magic happens. If you're listening to this and you've been caught in that loop of chasing validation and beating yourself up, blaming your partner, just take a deep breath. You're not broken. You're just wounded inside. You're human. You're learning. This work isn't about guilt and shame. It's about awareness and growth. Next time you feel that frustration, just pause, take a deep breath, ask yourself what's really happening underneath. And that's where the healing will begin. And then when you can meet yourself with compassion in that place, you'll start creating the kind of connection that doesn't need to be chased. It just simply exists. Hey, I hope this podcast was helpful for you. I know this was a little bit longer than normal, but if this podcast is helping you out, give me a review, subscribe if you don't already. Share this podcast with somebody who you think may need to hear this. And if you need help getting unstuck, if you need that accountability factor, visit securehusband.com and sign up for a free 30-minute consultation with me. No pressure, just a conversation, and let's see how I can help you. And I'll see you on the next Secure Husband podcast. Thanks for listening.